All right, good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining. This is the April 2021 Life Design Analysis webinar, and I am your host, Charlie Conron. I'm the CTO and founder of Life Design Analysis. And this month, I think we have a great webinar lined up for you. This month, we're focusing all around simplifying insurance case creation. This webinar, we're going to focus in on lots of different elements, everything from utilizing lead gen to bring in prospects from your website, how you might set up the best policy comparison and present that remotely, especially important right now. We're going to show a little bit of concepts and some of the new features that we've added to the system. And then, ultimately, when we sell a policy, we're going to show you how you can mark that as sold in the system, saving all of those guaranteed renewals, but also adding it into the policy mining aspect of our platform. Now, again, if we have time, I'll also show you how you can import your block of business. With this lockdown, again, it's a good time to focus in on some of that low-hanging fruit. Those are things like term conversions, term exchanges. But again, it's all about how we can engage our prospect and bring them down those different stages of the funnel, help identify, potentially a problem that they do have, and show them a solution in terms of, what products might better fit their needs. Now, again, we're going to do all of this digitally. We're going to do it all remotely and all from inside the Life Design Analysis platform. Before I get started, I just want to make a couple notes for housekeeping and updates there. This is going to be recorded, so if you're looking for a copy of this webinar after we finish up here, you can find it on our website, lifedesignanalysis.com. Just navigate over to the blog section where you would have registered here, and you'll see a video recording of this after. You can also catch all of our past recordings on the blog, as well as some other articles if you wanted to digest some of this content in more of a written format. The other thing is I'm going to be illustrating all of this on lifedesignanalysis.com. So again, same website. If you haven't done so already, absolutely try out the 30-day free trial. I'll just show here, we give access to our best package for 30 days. After the 30 days, you would expire to a light or free subscription with limited features and functionality. But there are lots of different packages to choose from, depending on the feature set that you're looking for. Again, we're also going to be talking about our LeadGen add-on today. But remember that if you do belong to a certain MGA, we do have discount codes for different MGAs, and our best discount code out there is for our LifeGuide subscribers. So if you're watching this and you are a LifeGuide subscriber, remember your serial number acts as a discount code, giving you 50% off up to the cost of LifeGuide. So again, make sure you're taking advantage of that. If you do have any questions on how to apply any of those discounts or LifeGuide discounts, your serial number, make sure to pop out the live chat and ask us a question. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and log into our account and get started with our first concept. So when you're logged in, you're taken here to the main dashboard. Now, before I dive too deep into sort of product comparison and policy setup here, I really wanted to show kind of two articles that I stumbled upon recently and actually posted to LinkedIn. One was by Investment Executive, and it says, "Get ready to show your work under new client-focused reforms." And one of the main points that I've highlighted here is, there's an important theme in the new regulations that brings back memories of, your old public school math class from years ago, and that was the whole "show me your work." So it says, "Advisor attestation, including their compliance activity is complete, will not suffice. Regulators will expect an advisor's analysis to be documented and sufficiently thorough to support the rationale for the recommendation to the clients." Now, this is something I think Life Design Analysis can help any advisor with just through the very process of setting up a case. So we're going to go through that, but keep in mind, when you think about our analysis in ensuring that it's complete, that we have kind of the right forms in there, like a reason why letter, a needs analysis, we've done our product comparison, we've done a suitability, and provided them more than one options. I think is something that is naturally done throughout the work process of LDA. And the other one was an Advisor's Edge article here, and it was just saying ensure your client can afford to pay premiums. And has a great quote from Harold Geller in here, and he says, in the life insurance policies that their firm has reviewed since 2006, not one advisor has a documented needs assessment or reason why letter. And again, it's one of those things that can get you into a little bit of a hot water from compliance, because we're not able to show our work or how we reach that, reason of insurance or affordability of insurance. Further down in the article too, it says, while what is clear is that conducting a needs assessment and writing reason why letters helps advisors justify their sales, manage client expectations, and demonstrates advisors' value and professionalism. So this is not only something that's good for compliance. Again, it's automatically included in your workflow when you're working with LDA, but it's going to help enhance that professionalism and the value that you add. So again, when we think about working every single case in LDA, not only is it great for, sort of our client where, again, we're giving them options, but it's also going to cover off a lot of those compliance requirements. So let's dive in here, and we're going to start off with our first sort of concept, which is LDA LeadGen. Now, LDA LeadGen is an available add-on that you can add through my subscription, and you'll find it in my account area to actually enable it. And really the purpose was basically to give advisors a way to put LDA and a way to capture prospect information from people who are visiting your website. I'll show basically how it is enabled. So I'm going to put on my domain here. I've got is active, and basically I've got a snippet of code here that's provided to me for LDA LeadGen. And really all I need to do to install it is simply copy this and paste it to any sort of web page out there. So given mine, I only have so many pages on life design analysis here, but I'll just kind of show on my LDA LeadGen demo page really quickly here. So, I've already gone ahead and posted that same script in there, but just for the sake of it, I'll delete that and just show you that this page is blank. So I'll say H1 blank. So just to show you, this is, a standard website there. Where basically, I can create a page, and all this page says is I just added a header tag that says blank. So you can see this is a completely blank page that I'm starting with. And again, all I really want to do to install LDA LeadGen to this page is paste that same snippet of code that I got from the My Account area. When I go ahead and save that, we're going to see that now, all of a sudden in LDA here, in that page, that blank page we were creating, by pasting that one little snippet of code that you find in the My Account area, we now have an interactive ability to really capture people's information and help them review the insurance options right from your website. Lemur stats show something about 85% of people will go online and look for information and education on an advisor's site. So having something like this is important to, when I say bring people down the funnel, meaning that getting website visits is one thing, but it doesn't automatically convert into a lead or into a contact. Whereas, this is a product designed to, when you get traffic to that site, to convert it and actually get the contact information of the people shopping who have a defined need for this. So it's very easy to install, but it's one of those ways that, again, when we're looking to promote business and prospect in a fully remote way, we want to leverage things like our website. So you can see when I install this on here, very simple process for clients. You can add other things around the frame itself. So, for instance, I've got explore your life insurance options, but I could also add, a quick paragraph in there as well. So anything you wanted to style around this, again, you could add to your website if you're using kind of a content management system. You could, put it behind its own page, like get a quote or something like that. But you could put something like a little bit of instruction. So, fill So I'm just throwing in here a quick little paragraph there, just saying fill out the details below to find out your insurance need, and an advisor will be in touch with you. And I just want to show that you don't necessarily just have to use the frame. You can style things. I can move the frame over to the right side of the page and put like a little information on the left-hand side. So there's lots of customization that you could do, but we tried to design this so it was really, really easy to use, that you could put this on any sort of page on your website. Now, when people come in to explore this page, again, they can fill out the details. So again, it's picked up, I'm a male living in Ontario, I don't smoke, I'm going to throw in my birth date there, I'll just use this, and it's going to ask them for a purpose for looking for insurance. So we have a couple different purposes in here. These really kind of indicate the time frame for the insurance need. So again, if someone's buying a house, we're going to look at term insurance that's going to cover, T10, T20, T30. If they're looking for something like estate preservation, we're going to look at more long-term products. Maybe it's supplemental work coverage, and we're going to look out to retirement age or something around age 65. But in this one, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm looking for supplemental work coverage. And actually, maybe in this one, just because we are looking till 65, I'm going to make myself a little bit younger. So I'm going to say, I was born in 84, and again, I'll just say April 1st. So I'm going to say I'm 36 here. Now, they also have the option to specify an insurance amount. So if they know they need $1 million, they can do that. But we kind of put the default here to I'm not sure how much insurance I need. And the reason we do this kind of goes back to ensuring the client can afford the premiums and getting ready to show our work is we want the client to complete a needs analysis for us and tell us some of those assets and liabilities that they have. Now, again, at the end of it, they need to put in their information because, of course, we need to get in touch with them and their email. So again, they fill in those details. Now, because I said I'm not sure how much insurance I need, all I need to do is hit next, where we're going to be taken to a embedded needs analysis. So this is a great way to actually complete this, have this on file, and have the client fill it out. You can see the client can skip it, if they feel that this is too much information to give, or they weren't sure what they were getting by saying that. They can always skip this step. But really, again, we're going to try and find out how much debt you have left on your mortgage. So again, I can put $500,000. How much income you want to replace. So again, looking at that after tax, do you have any kids? So again, I can put in 2 kids in an education fund. You also see that we do have the Canadian averages in some of these. A lot of new parents, have no idea that what post-secondary averages cost, especially when they have new kids or new babies. And again, you can see there's lines for things like household debt, and it tells you that you can use things like the plus minus. So if you have $3,000 on the credit card plus maybe $5,000 line of credit, you can add that all in there. Again, final expenses, a lot of people don't necessarily know that Canadian average is $8,500, but if you talk to an advisor, again, you'll find out it can be much in excess of even $20,000. So I'll just put in $15,000, and again, any sort of additional coverage. So you can see legacy, charity, anything else that they want to put in there. I could say charitable gift and give it a value, something like that. Again, you can put in things like current life insurance coverage, so this is going to reduce any kind of need. So again, I could have $1 million of coverage. Maybe it's only $100,000, or maybe it's zero altogether. And again, I have savings or investments that I would liquidate. And so again, we're not talking about necessarily your house as an asset, because again, if you are married and you have a spouse, you're not necessarily going to sell the house if one partner passes. So these are liquid assets. And again, you can see, because I've got $1,083,000 here, let's just say I put $83,000 of liquid assets, bringing that insurance need to $1 million. So essentially, they're going to go through, populate the fields that sort of build out this insurance need, and go ahead and hit next. Now, this basically what's happening now is it's going into your product shelf, and all those companies that you specified as your preferred companies, it's going to look for a recipe that matches sort of your client's time frame that we established for the purpose. And again, our report's ready, so we can simply click view the report. And you can see what's happened here is, because this is based on my account that the LeadGen is coming off of, the report itself is going to be very familiar to an LDA report that you've seen before. Your logo is going to go on there. The report is already going to be customized for the client. So again, you can see prepared by Charlie, presented by Charlie, because that's the name I put in the LeadGen. Again, any of your disclaimers or mission statements are going to go in there, but we have our documented needs analysis for our client. And again, they can do things like, play with the interactive features of the needs analysis. They can, see any sort of product that we might have put in there. So in this case, we've got a T10, a T20, and a UL here. And we're going to get that same familiar LDA report that actually helps educate them on some of the different costs. So yes, they're going to see that, they could get, some affordable term 10 at $490, but they'll also see some of the benefits of these longer term products and actually get a choice in what suits their needs better. Again, things like looking at sort of annual premiums. They can also toggle these kind of charts. So this is exactly like an LDA report you would produce, except for it's all driven by the client directly from your website. Again, you can see we've got a sum of premiums page. It's important to note that you can kind of customize these lead gen pages that come out. So I've got sort of a condensed report here. I don't want to drown my kind of prospects with too much information, but I do want to show some stats and some price comparison for them. Again, nice contact info here. You can see from here, they do still have all of the kind of the features that would be in a shared case from LDA. So all of these pages, when they visit, are going to give you a notification. They're going to heat map and tell you how long the client was on them. And they're actually going to bring this case back over into the LDA account. So again, if I come back to my main dashboard, I'm going to have a notification. And if I go into my manage cases here, I'm going to see that I've got a web lead from Charlie Conron, and these were the cases that were designed. Now, you'll also get an email. So as soon as you get that web lead in, you'll get an email and you can run any of those other sort of process flows. But you can see if I go in here, I've automatically got a copy of the case. I can see, what sort of products were presented to this client. And again, from there, I can start to modify them. So if, for example, I've got my client and I've shared this case out with them, I can always augment these cases too. So I might say, let's consider a term to 65 here. So I can say plus term. I'm going to say level term to 65. And again, perform that search. You're going to see Manulife T65, and I could always add it to the case. Now, that client who's viewing on the other side is going to have access to that shared link, and again, you're going to have access to all of those client details. Now, the other nice thing we can do is we can see that the client has already been created in LDA. So, this is a brand new contact, but we do have all of sort of the information that they input from that needs analysis. And if we want to make any kind of new notes of how we acquired the customer, or perhaps, view that case that we created for the customer, we can do all of that as we normally would. So no more re-inputting any of those prospects into, a different system. They're automatically created inside of LDA. Although, just because they're in there, again, you can always edit those details too. So if you wanted to add additional information as you get it, feel free to put it in there. Again, things like address. Again, we have this great autocomplete. Again, I'll just put our work address here. You can see it automatically fills it in. Again, this just makes it that much easier to keep better records of our clients. It's going to make it that much easier if we do pass it off to, let's say, an e-app. So I've just updated our client there and just put in some additional information. Now, one other thing I sort of want to point out here is, when we are up in those account settings, there are options to customize the embed form as well. So if you notice that, when I went to that LDA LeadGen, we had our color in there. But let me just make it, something really funky here. Let me put in a, a nice little kind of bluey purple. And again, just go down to the bottom here and save that. And now, if you notice when I go back to that LeadGen page, let's just go save here, and we refresh it, you can see that updated color that I added in there for Explore Your Life Insurance Options. That's going to be colored with your colors. So yes, you can style around the frame, but you can also customize those colors in the frame to make it really at home in your website. Simply setting up a page and putting it on your website, is certainly going to help for the people who are already visiting it. But with something like this, we really want to drive it with kind of a marketing concept. And again, during a lockdown where it's absolutely more difficult to prospect and meet new people and get out in the community, this is one of the avenues that you can explore to really sort of increase those remote sales or increase those digital opportunities from clients who are out there browsing the web. So, a really good idea would be, don't just put the bare minimum here in terms of details. Wrap this with some content. So have a, sort of a description of what the process is, sort of your value proposition, and really add things around that when Google and when people go out there searching for review insurance options, that they're going to be more likely to find you because of that content. Now, the other way is you can actually physically drive people to this. So again, I'm going to grab the URL here from the top, but there's a couple different ways that we could, sort of use this link to drive traffic here and really increase the likelihood that people are going to go through this process and go down that funnel where we can capture and start that conversation with them. So one of the easiest methods might actually be something like an email campaign. So I've just set up a really easy one here with a single prospect. But again, this is something where if you're, maybe you're filtering your contacts and prospects in Outlook, maybe you have a spreadsheet spreadsheet, or maybe even you're using a CRM where you have, kind of that mail functionality and say, I want to tag all of these prospects or all of these people who I don't have insurance policies with. And I want to kind of poke them a little bit to say, hey, you were obviously interested in before, I marked you as a prospect, but we didn't do anything. How can I trigger you to go back to the website and maybe do a little bit of research on your own and sort of self-serve? So you can see I've just kind of set up an email here. I'm just sending it to our support team, which is going to go to all kind of the staff at LDA here. And again, you might even use it something like a subject like, do you have the right insurance coverage? So you can see I said, please fill out the details of the link to find out how affordable coverage can be. Again, personalize this to a message that makes sense to you. And it could be even to existing clients to say, hey, let's review the needs and make sure they're up to date. But again, we're going to drive them to this sort of page. And again, we can just simply send that out. Now, while we wait for responses on that, we'll see if the LDA staff kind of fills it out and does what they're supposed to do with lead gen. Another way that we could kind of get that in front of prospects as well would be something like content inside of LinkedIn. So again, I could start a new post as an example. And I could say something like, let's do something like that. So again, I can create a post. This is something where, again, you might want to use, maybe an article that's timely or something like that, focusing on a specific problem or a specific niche and say, have you ever wondered what your true insurance needs are? Again, post the link, whatever, is sort of on that page. So if I had an image on the page, that's what's going to load the preview. I don't necessarily have an image. So again, I might want to put an image with this, or on the page that I'm designing it, I might want to put an insurance kind of related picture so that it's just going to grab a little bit more attention. Again, I might hashtag it life insurance. And again, I can simply post it out there. Now, when I do post it, again, it's going to go on there, and anyone who's viewing this on LinkedIn, so again, if you've hashtagged it for a certain audience, they can basically click through on that link. They're going to be taken to your lead gen page, which is completely customized for you, and they can go through and fill out all of the details. So, simply putting it on your website is one part of it, but there's lots of different ways to drive traffic to it. Now, just because I don't want to attract a lot of attention here, I'm going to delete this post here. This doesn't have to be LinkedIn. It could really be any social network out there. So again, if I go to Facebook and go in there and say, I want to create a post, what's on your mind? Again, I would wrap this with a little bit of a call to action. So, have you ever wondered about your insurance needs? Blah, blah, blah. And, add something like a photo or video if your page itself does not have a picture on it. Any sort of picture will come up as the preview, and that always adds a little bit more, sort of eye-catchiness to it. So really take some time designing the post. Don't just kind of wing it. But yeah, it's a great way to kind of bring these different audiences. And again, you may look for things like groups on LinkedIn and Facebook for professionals, doctors, dentists, veterinarians, where again, you can customize a message to their needs, drive them to your lead gen, and then capture people who are interested and have a need. And again, already you're going to have established a case and a contact in LDA for them. But ideally, you've also got the needs analysis done. And it's a great way to attract people to, in a kind of completely remote way, who are looking to buy insurance, looking to do research, want quotes, but want a little bit more education with it. And that's where I think lead gen is great, because it's not just a standard sort of survey. It's really going to compare different products based around that purpose that they're picking. Again, you can take this a step further as well. Facebook and LinkedIn, social medias, mail campaigns, those are all a great free option to market. So I would certainly start with those. But you can also explore things like retargeting ads. Again, you can take a segmented list of emails that you've collected, load them into AdRoll or Google AdWords. And again, they're going to ask you for a page to promote. And essentially, you can buy traffic to this page. Now, I would definitely recommend, if you're not, comfortable with that, there's lots of ad specialists out there, but it is pretty easy to set up to say that, you want to promote a certain page and you want to get clicks and likes and things like that. And again, you can use these platforms and these retargeting mechanisms to basically push people to this, where, again, it is really a numbers game. The more traffic that you do get to a page, the more opportunity you have to have the form filled out. The more forms filled out, the more prospects you'll get in the system, and then it's up to you to convert them. But it really is, again, like generating leads, just like it would be, in person, right? We meet a certain number of prospects, we make a certain number of meetings, we get a certain number of sales. The only big difference with doing it digitally is that those numbers become a lot larger. So it is something that, you may need, 5,000 visits to get one actual paid client. It doesn't mean they're all going to fill out the embedded form, but that's, sort of the scale that that the web helps us with. If you are looking for sort of more strategies, not necessarily on employing LDA lead gen, but really, how can I drive traffic to that page and how can I get people to this lead gen? We do have a great kind of resource piece on our blog. So again, lifedesignanalysis.com/blog, and this is generating life insurance leads. And again, we have a little bit of information on sort of the traditional funnel versus maybe a digital funnel. Lots of great ideas on things like, like I talked about, using social networking, using paid media, maybe using your in-force block of business. And at the very bottom, we break down a little bit of information on, LDA lead gen, the retargeting idea I talked about. So if you're, looking for some of those paid digital strategies, lots of great content in this article. And we also include, sort of a sample ads report. So again, when I talk about sort of that scale of, we're definitely going to have to drive a lot of people there to get a certain number of clicks, to actually get them to fill out the form and then convert them into customers. So our typical funnel that we're maybe used to for in-person sales changes a lot when we are digital. So again, you can see, I might have 100 or 4,500 impressions, which means my ad shows up 4,000 times to just get 153 clicks. So my click-through rate is 3.4%. Again, if I look at segmented remarketing, I had 3,000 impressions and almost 1 out of every 3 people clicked that. So you do have to play around with sort of your messaging. You'll get different sort of impressions versus click-through rates. And then, basically refines it down to a cost per customer acquisition. And that's really what we want to focus on. If you think about sort of your traditional sale to a prospect and what it costs to acquire that. So, sort of in the analog world, maybe it would be, we went to 3 different dinners, we played a round of golf, I spent roughly $500 to acquire a customer, but it could have been a $10,000 sale in terms of FYC. You'd say, that customer acquisition cost makes sense. A little different online, we may feel like that's a ton of impressions for not a lot of clicks. Probably just means our messaging is not working. And so we need to adjust our strategy. But it's definitely something worth investing in. And LDA lead gen can really help from that time that the prospect clicks through to actually converting them into a client. Now, even if you don't have LDA lead gen or you're not driving ads to a certain landing page, you can still use sort of our email campaign and just say on a micro level that, send out the same message. You may not have the link to drive them to, but it could just simply be a question of, do you want to review your insurance needs? Where we could go through, making sort of a personalized case for everyone. So remember that, just because I generated this needs analysis from that LDA lead gen, even from our regular Premier account, you can go into the needs analysis and again, link your client to fill. So it could be even as simple as something, creating a mailer campaign. Do you want to review your needs? And as clients come up and express their interest to review their needs, we would simply link them to the needs analysis. So in the same sort of way, I could generate a link to just this needs analysis, even without lead gen, send out a message to a number of prospects. And when I get responses, that's where I could create a client, send them the shared link to the needs analysis, and same sort of thing. So again, the really big difference between just sharing a link to a client and doing it embedded is just that the embedded one is going to create the prospect for you rather than you do the work. But again, in the same sort of way, we could send out a link. Again, we could review any sort of the changes that our client wanted to make, and then we could start working through sort of that due diligence process. So again, this is a client filling it out, updates a value, and again, when we come back to LDA, all of a sudden we've got our updated needs analysis. So the lead gen is great because it means anyone can self-direct, but you can take a little bit more control and basically steer the process yourself if you don't have kind of the scale to create those leads. But I'll just show you again, even from creating a brand new case, when we think back to our article of showing our work and making sure that, we have done our suitability and our due diligence for compliance, LDA gives you a great workflow for that, with or without LeadGen. So again, same sort of thing here. I could create a link to a needs analysis. We're going to have that on file for our client going forward. And again, I can do any sort of product comparison. So, just simply because we have $1 million insurance need, really, how do we back up the work that we do, and how do we make sure that we're getting the best suitable product for them? So again, LDA makes this extremely easy, regardless of what sort of product you're looking for. Again, I can do a term 20 here. I have access to the full survey. And again, that's due to that LifeGuide integration. I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, if you do have LifeGuide, make sure you enter that LifeGuide serial as your discount code. Again, it allows you to kind of take that survey information, really easily bring it into a case. So again, I can select any sort of product and add it to the case, and then compare it to other suitable alternatives. So again, it could be something like a UL, could be a layered plan, but the whole purpose of it is that we have a documented backup that we can reference when we need to say, how did we establish the need? How did we go about picking products? Did we show them one option, or did we show them more than one option? And even things like when we generate the report, did our client view the report? Did they download the PDF? Do we have a record to show how we went back and forth? So again, things like, doing our product comparison here can really help us ensure that automatically we're including these compliance elements to it. Things like our disclaimers or our mission statements. Again, we can go through our report. We're definitely showing our work, so we're disclosing things like about the renewal coming up and making sure that the product is suitable not just today, but also in the future. And again, as we go through this, we can add things like customer notes. So again, if it's something like a reason why letter, you can make custom user-defined ones. So I have a compliance checklist, which actually includes advisor disclosure, as well as a couple other forms in there. So you can see client engagement letter. You can customize these as you see fit. So these global ones are in the system for everyone. But again, if you wanted to make a user-defined, you could simply go in and manage your templates, add a new report template, call it it's checklist, right? Give it a report title. And then you could put in any sort of report note that you want. And again, when I save this in here, you can see if I go back to my last case here, all of a sudden now in my concept forms here, I can see my user-defined compliance checklist and whatever text I've added in there. So if you have some forms that you use on the regular, think about going into the concepts area here, go into manage the templates and make some user-defined templates, notes that you're constantly using over and over that oftentimes we think about, if we think about Harold's example here where we don't have a needs analysis or a reason why letter in every single report, make it easy on yourself. Make sure that that reason why letter is something that you can put in, fill in the blanks. We like to think about it almost like a Mad Libs, right? You just fill in the facts and circumstances based on each case as to why you documented this. Now, again, you're going to have that on file. You're also going to have a modification history. And as I said, if you generate this report for the client and share it digitally, you're also going to have a record that way. And again, this is extremely beneficial when we think about sort of presenting over Zoom or presenting in a remote environment, to be able to take our client through the report that we've presented to them, detail sort of the differences in the plans. Again, you may want to make things like notes and say, renewal, or explain that renewal and add things like a little tooltip in there. Again, you can toggle those on and off and really customize the report. So saying break even, it might even be things like present value on a case. So again, if we're talking about doing the math, did we show them the present value? Again, it can be as simple as choosing our present value and then choosing our discount rate or our R value. And again, I can apply a present value to this case, generate it, and again, share it with my client. So again, I've got my report. I've adjusted this for PV. So again, if I want to even be more compliant, I can show my work there. I can see our kind of different sum of premiums. And again, if I want to share this with my client, all I have to do is copy the report. And again, I'll just give you a preview of what that looks like for the client itself. So again, I would share the link with them. Now, these links, again, can be shared on any different medium. You can see that when they go through the link, they're going to have access to that same sort of report. You're going to have evidence of this. So again, they can see things like the renewal in there. They can see when that plan actually expires. They can see the overall breakdown and really any sort of documentation that you want to provide them, right? So even showing things like the future value of the insurance going down because of that same PV that we added. Again, other product in there. So a really great way to actually document and show your work. You can see that when the client goes on there, if they have questions, they can comment to you. So I can say, you know, why are the... So I can add a comment. If I had a question, again, all of this information is kind of populated from there. So again, you can see if I exit this and come back from the advisor side, I can go back to my case, and I'm going to have certain notifications. You can see when I generate the report itself, I can see any of those kind of client communications on there. So again, I can go into that same report, or again, I can see any sort of comments back. So this client said, you know, why are the insurance charge sloping and the insurance benefit going down? I could just say, you know, that's I have applied. So something like that. And again, you can get as detailed as you want. The point is that all of these client comments are tied to the report, so you actually have a record of that. So again, when I go into our sort of our contact record, we may have started with a client that came into us from LeadGen, or perhaps through a micro campaign where we were doing it over email. But we're going to have a record of each different case that we present. You know, some of these are going to be tagged with kind of if it was a lead generated one, or if it was a case that we created. And again, you can always add different notes here for yourself as well. Now, as we go through and sort of modify these different reports, so again, if I just pull up my my generated one that I created, again, you can add any sort of product. So you can go back and forth, and you know, maybe they say, okay, well, you know, I don't really see, what about this whole life I've heard about? Again, I could say, you know, I'm looking for a whole life product here, and this is where you can work back and forth with your client, again, while at the same time documenting all these different kind of elements here. So I'm just going to say a life insurance 20 to pay. I can go through the survey results. And again, I can add any different product that I want in there. Again, always recognizing that, you know, I'm doing my diligence by actually doing the survey and seeing what's available based on my shelf, not just simply picking, you know, a software that's up to date or arbitrarily just because I feel like I like them. At least this way you can say, you know, this is part of my process flow. These are sort of the products that I've added. Now, one other really neat thing that we've added into the system that you may not have seen is you can see as I've added the Empire Life Plan, a little Empire logo has popped up here. So, you know, when we think about this sort of digital selling environment where, again, we're attracting leads online, we're nurturing them and explaining different product over Zoom and trying to, you know, kind of establish budget, need, authority, and timing. Well, if we get the go-ahead from our client and we want to make it really easy for them to complete the sale, that's where this e-app integration comes in. We are planning this with other carriers, so if you're watching this from a carrier and you think, hey, that's really neat, absolutely get in touch. We're more than happy to explore. Basically, anytime a product from your company is displayed in the survey, we can actually link directly to your e-application. So in this case, if Charlie wants to buy this Empire Life product, again, I can simply transition them to fast and full by simply clicking the logo. You can see what it's going to do is ask me, do I want to complete the fast and full right now and say complete application, or do I want to keep working back and forth with the client? For the sake of this, I'm going to say complete. And you can see that what it's going to do is actually pass all of that client information right over into the Empire Life e-app. And again, here we can complete the normal process on Empire side. As you can see, you know, any sort of client that you push over there, you're going to see the contact details available for them so that you don't have to re-enter all of that address information, all of kind of the client tombstone information. We are going to get to the point where we push products over. So that's kind of phase 2. But for right now, again, it really does shave off time from that application. And I know Empire Life right now has a bonus for e-apps with the EHQ. So again, keep that in mind when you are designing products for the client, that you can do sort of that comparison, you can back up your work, you can show your math, and then when it comes time to make a purchase, again, you can easily transition over an e-app to fast and full. Now, after we complete the sale, one of the other things we want to do is actually add the policy to the client file so that LDA is going to remind us when this policy hits certain milestones. So for example, when a Term 10 policy hits the 7th year, 8th year, 9th year, and even 3 months too, we'll actually send you a notification and add it to that policy management. Now, there's two kind of ways to get clients in there. One, you can import your block of business, and I'll show that in a second if you have time. And that's great. It brings in a lot of different information from the carriers. But one of the things carriers generally do not have is renewals. And you can see, in our case, we've got our estate max here, which has our premium and our projected cash schedule. One of the things you can do, let's say we do sell that Empire product there, and we want to add it into our repository or into our client file to actually mark it as a sale. Well, it's a very easy process when you do make a sale. And again, just ensure that, perhaps if they didn't get, let's say, a regular premium, they got rated, that we would just manually enter that in there. Or again, if it was preferred, research again under preferred rates and add that. So just make sure that that premium matches. But really easy way to say edit plan, just scroll down to the bottom and we can describe it and say save as a policy. And you can see if it's a new sale, you can mark it as sold. That kind of goes in your monthly report for tracking. But again, it's going to say, okay, when did you sell it? And I'll just say today was the issue date, and I'll just call, we'd get a policy number. So I'm just going to say ABC 123 is going to be our policy number, and go ahead and hit save. And basically what that will do is any sort of product that you've designed in a case, all of the numbers, all of the kind of projections in there can all be saved to the client file. So you can see as soon as I do that, I can go back to my Charlie Conron contact record, and now we have this as an in-force policy. So again, you can see it moved from just being a product in a case that we presented to something that's actually in force. And again, you can see here I can go in and edit certain details. So again, if I wanted to give it a little bit of a description, again, add things like the policy owner. So, right, and then I could put things like the beneficiary, set an expiration date, an issue date, or renew date, or anything like that that was applicable. And I can even do things like I could say name and policy summary. I could just say that this was permanent insurance and just say, so I could do something like that. And again, go ahead and save it. Now, any sort of policy that we see along the right-hand side is going to be also available in that policy summary mode. So this is a little different than in sort of our regular one, but any sort of permanent insurance policy description, we can add in there with all of those details. So as your clients sort of build up there and we get more policies, again, I'll just kind of mock one in here and just say, not applicable, policy, I'm going to say CI. So again, I can add a little note and I could put it in there here. And again, anything along the right-hand side here is going to generate in that policy summary. So again, as you start to build different policies or want to kind of put them as placeholders in there, you can share this out with your clients as a nice, sort of what you bought, a summary of, kind of the details. And again, populate anything in there that may not be there. Any sort of custom notes that the advisor and the client want to share can also be contacted that way. And you can see all of these links at the bottom here for, if they want to phone you, email you, are all available. Just like anything else in our system, you can always share these out there. Now, one way, as I showed to add that client into the managed clients was just simply saving a policy. You can also import your block of business in there to populate that. So again, if you go in here, you can request different clients. Brandon on our team does this as a service for all of our premier subscribers. So if you're looking at this and want sort of a global view of your block of business, essentially we have a form that we go out to all the different carriers. We'll request your block of business and basically bring it in to populate your managed clients area. So again, this can bring in policyholders from all different areas here and basically any sort of products that they do have. Now, if you're looking to get productive, and again, if you're looking for people who maybe you want to drive to that needs analysis or you want to do kind of micro campaigns on, consider using these filters up here. So things like our Term 10 conversion filter, where basically it's going to comb through your block of business and find all of those term policies that are coming up to expiration. So you can see, this one here on April 25th is coming up. It's a CI that's about to hit its 10-year renewal mark. You can see it was issued in April of 2011, so we're just about at that 10-year mark. Same thing, Empire Term 10 here, Sun Life Term 10. We can go through our list and really get busy on some of these low-hanging fruits. Again, this is a perfect opportunity through this lockdown. It's really, really hard to get new prospects, even through digital channels and things like that. So a lot of the best opportunities are going to come from your existing book. I think I saw a study the other day that roughly 75% of sales since the beginning of COVID have come to existing policyholders. So remember, bring in your block of business across different carriers. We can filter it out and look for these different opportunities. One thing we see a lot when we are importing these are overdue term 10s and overdue term 20. So things that may have slipped and past that 10-year renewal mark, perhaps the client was procrastinating and didn't take action. These are great opportunities. You can see as I go through here, you can see March 30th, that one's coming up, that one has passed because now we're in April. So you can see this is an opportunity that I missed. And again, there may be lots of term 10s that have actually gone past that 10-year renewal mark that you may want to filter out and say, okay, these people make a great call campaign. Let's go through the list, create a case for each of them, or maybe even just starting with something like the needs analysis and say, I noticed that our software identified that your policy needs review. Here's a unique link again. So we could go into any of these different clients. We could say, make a new case here, and then simply share that needs analysis on a micro level. On the other way, again, we could lump all those into kind of a mailer campaign and also send it out that way. But again, really easy process to import your clients. Either go in and request them through the system, or get in touch with Brandon. Again, if you want, even over the live chat, you can send him a message. But essentially, that will bring in the policy holders to the managed clients. And again, that's going to drive certain notification. We're getting things like, our client has visited the case we shared, or filled out the personal needs analysis, or client has got an embedded lead. And again, you can also see as we go down, there are going to be certain, opportunities in here. So again, these are ones where you can see like a term conversion opportunity has come up for Greg Wallace. The example case has been created. So again, if I go to this case here, you can see, Gregory here had a Manulife T10 for $500,000. It hit 10 years on the issue date based on the prescribed sort of logic, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, and 3 months too. And as it hits those kind of dates, it's going to automate a case out for that face value because we know this client has an impending, sort of policy coming up. So you can see all of these cases here were generated automatically. And that's the benefit of bringing in your block of business. One, it's going to give you opportunity to get notified as those kind of milestones happen. Two, it's going to create some example reports for you. So again, off your product shelf, based on sort of your specifications of what you want run, but it doesn't mean you can't work with these clients in a different capacity. And again, maybe at this time, we reach out to Greg and perform a needs analysis. So we make sure we document, that we have reviewed their needs and get busy. Again, these are great sales opportunities as well. So, really encourage you to jump into LDA. And again, there's lots of different elements to that sort of case creation, whether you're driving traffic in through LeadGen, whether you're kind of campaigning through your existing clients using shared cases, or really just any sort of comparison that you do. Again, when we come back to sort of our articles and think about, showing the work and indicating how we reached a certain conclusion, and to say that, an analysis will be documented and sufficiently thorough, I think, to say the least, that LDA can certainly help you with that. And again, remember that you're ensuring that we get things like our, our reason why letter and our needs analysis on file. Because again, it's not necessarily that, you don't necessarily know what's right for your client, but it's how do we prove it? And not necessarily how do we prove it today, how do we prove it in the years going forward? So Harold's brother, Lawrence, always says, you're measured on the compliance, not of today, but of when the judgment comes. So, make sure we're forward thinking and doing even more than kind of the bare minimum, because it's certainly going to help in our process, not only from a sales perspective, but also from, backing up our work. So I want to thank everyone for watching. If you have any questions at all, reach out to us on our live chat. We're more than happy to help. If you haven't done so already, remember, you can start the 30-day free trial and try all the functions of the site. And if you're watching this and wondering about different packages, certainly get in touch with our sales team, but we do have lots of different packages to fit any sort of advisor's need. So I want to thank everyone for watching and look forward to next month's webinar. Take care.